Ladies and gentlemen, Binnall of America!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Tim Binnall.
No commercials, no subscriptions, no network, no rules, and at the end of the day, my friends, no comparison. Welcome to another edition of BOA The Revival. This is a kind of a special episode for me, in a way, because it's almost like, I want to say almost 8 years in the making, because I had the pleasure of meeting Robin Morgan back in 2017 at the International Cryptozoology Conference put on by the wonderful Lauren Coleman in Portland, Maine. And Robin was a part of the youth panel. Robin was super young then. And I think I mentioned her on a few shows, I think, talking about it and how fun Robin was and how smart she was about all these different cryptids. And I was like, I got to get you on the show. And Robin's grown up and kind of been part of cryptozoology, and like a lot of us when we're growing up, kind of like has that as a side thing, and she's got other stuff going on. I was very much the same way growing up myself, really into this stuff. Then I got older, and I'm like, there's other stuff. And then next thing I know, I got out of college, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with Bigfoot? And here I am. So it's been 8 years in the making. At the time, I'm like, I got to get you on the show. Ran into Robin last year at the other cryptozoology conference, International Cryptozoology Conference 2024. And I was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And I do want to say also, Robin really made me feel great a couple years ago because she reached out and was like, hey, can we talk about UFOs? Not on a podcast, just to shoot the shit, because she wanted my opinion on it. And you probably don't realize this, Robin. That really meant a lot to me because, I'm an old fart. And it was like, wow, I have something to say. I have wisdom, I think, to provide the younger generation. And so when you reached out to me, I was like, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. So last month or so, I was writing up an article on the Ukamar for Coast to Coast AM, and I was searching for some reference material on it, and lo and behold, I stumbled upon Robin's writings online, and I was like, what? I got to get Robin on the show finally. So with all that said, one last time to put her over, though, is I've always been impressed by Robin's encyclopedic knowledge of these cryptids. It is tremendous. So I'm thrilled to get her on the program. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Robin Morgan, thank you so much for coming on Binnall of America. I'm really looking forward to it. It's long overdue.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to chat with you. So
we started out with the bio, the background. Who is Robin Morgan? You've kind of had a long career now in this because you were on the panel in 2017. So how'd you get interested in all this? And sort of give us the bio, the background. You're pretty young, so it's not. You don't have to cover that much, right?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in mysterious things. I'm autistic, so I tend to hyperfixate on things, and a lot of the things I hyperfixate on are things that are mysterious or enigmatic in some way. Whether it's like uncontacted tribes, which is obviously not paranormal, but it's mysterious in the sense that there's whole cultures out there that we aren't able to, study.
Yeah.
And like deep sea stuff was a long one. But with the paranormal, I remember when I was a kid, I would watch Finding Bigfoot, and I was young enough, I was young enough that I thought the CGI recreations were literally videos. Like I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
And there was the odd UFO documentary, like Chasing UFOs or something. No clue if that holds up or if there's anything good in it, but my aunt gave me a book, The Unexplained by Carl Schuker. who is probably my favorite cryptozoologist. I've never met him, unfortunately, but he's really cool. No idea where my aunt got that book. I don't think it's like that common, but I would read that like religiously over and over.
Yeah.
Most of my research has been online, although if I do have the opportunity to, ask around, I will. I usually tend to get the most luck with learning about cryptids if I'm either in some foreign country in the middle of nowhere, unsurprisingly, or if I'm talking to indigenous people. Like I'm from South Central Ontario, so there's a lot of Ojibwe people. They often have interesting stories and things like that. And I was mostly interested in cryptozoology. I always liked Sasquatch type stuff a lot, although it wasn't like my only focus. It was like half of it. I remember all the stuff about Sasquatches and whatnot, but that's not really as big of a focus right now. I'm a bit more skeptical of it, or at least skeptical in the flesh and blood theory kind of sense. And I also don't mean, I think it's an interdimensional alien ghost spirit. I don't know is my answer. I think there must be something, just because it's weird if there isn't something to it, just because of how widespread it is in a bunch of Native American cultures. And also, there are, of course, a weird amount of variety that you wouldn't expect for an unknown ape, like the amount of hair color described with Sasquatches and stuff like that. But there is still enough consistency and like details that make me think something must be happening. Yeah. But I can't, it just doesn't make sense, in my opinion, for it to remain undetected by now. And I know to any Sasquatch believers watching, you will be thinking to yourself, I know, because I was like this for a long time. Well, yeah, but there's been, mountain gorillas were described until the 20th century.
That's the old standby.
Yeah, people find new populations of cougars sometimes, yada yada. True, that's just objectively correct. However, there is not any precedent for a unknown species of like large animal that doesn't resemble any other species, with a range as big as from Florida to Alaska to Nova Scotia to California, remaining undetected until now. That's literally never happened. And I also understand, with the why hasn't someone shot it? I think that is kind of a good point. Generally.
Right, yeah.
Like, if the range was small enough that the amount of times someone had the opportunity was a couple, that's whatever. Because, you would probably feel weird if you had a Sasquatch in your sights. It would probably feel weird to shoot and kill one. It looks like a person. I get that. But there's I've read dozens and dozens and dozens of reports. The fact that not a single guy decided to take the shot and hit it. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, Well, it's funny because you sound very similar to, I don't know if you know Paul Bartholomew. He's a seasoned Bigfoot researcher from upstate New York. And he's been looking at this for 30 years, longer than you and I combined in this field. And he grapples with the same sort of question where it's I've looked at this long enough, it's been gone on long enough that it doesn't make that we're missing something. There's something here that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, I think a fantastic book, and a book that I have to so begrudgingly say makes a lot of good points, is Where the Footprints End by Joshua Cutchin. And I have to, and you know why I'm saying begrudging. I don't want to be in that camp. I don't want to. I don't want to look like that. But I have to. It logically it makes sense. Not every single thing I'm agreeing with, but there's something there. That's an interesting thing. You could also interpret it not in the sense of, there's a cosmic joker and it's manifesting stuff in from our, like, then it's like manifesting. Yeah. But like it could be that it is, I guess, just a cultural phenomenon, and it's a sort of archetype in I guess a Jungian way. Hopefully I'm not misinterpreting that. I've not read Jung. I just know the vague gist.
Yeah.
But if that is the case, then wow, those archetypes sure are very weirdly specific and powerful, which is weird to me. I don't know.
You're not quite in on the joke here for my uproarious laughter, because Joshua Cutchin is a dear friend of mine.
Oh.
And I've known him since before Where the Footprints End. And he and I are actually going on a Bigfoot hunt in Georgia in late October, early November. So when you were about to recommend a book, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I think he might be about to say Where the Footprints End. And you did. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, Cutch. Wait till Cutch hears this. He's a listener. He'll really enjoy that. It's a fantastic book.
I like your book.
There you go. It's a fantastic book and a really good premise. I guess you say, or theory, or whatever you want to call it.
I also got his new book. What's it called?
Oh, Fourth Wall Phantoms.
Fourth Wall Phantoms, yeah. Also fantastic. I've been getting into UFOs and high strangeness more recently, and that makes Sasquatch look like paint drying. It's a whole other thing, and I don't know what I could. I obviously it's real. I don't mean like every single thing is real, but like in my opinion, at least, obviously there is a high strangeness type stuff going on.
Yeah,
I could not possibly understand what it is. I have a metaphor that I've used to sort of describe kind of what I think about what high strangeness and Fortean stuff is. And hear me out, because it'll be a kind of a weird metaphor, but it's all I got.
All good.
So, you know how a dog can see a television and it can react to what's on the television screen? You know, like I had a dog named Reggie, and whenever I would watch a documentary and there's wolves in it, Reggie would like perk his ears up and be like, oh my God, there's a little wolf in the box. That's crazy. You know, and my dogs would like howl back if you play a wolf sound. A dog is able to see the television, and it's able to be weirded out and to react to it, but a dog is not neurologically capable of comprehending or understanding what a television is. No matter what you could do, you could not possibly teach a dog how a television works. Hell, I don't know how a television works if you told me. You know? That's a great
I
think it's the liminal
analogy.
It's the liminal stuff where we're able to notice it, and we're able to perceive it, and we're able to ask the question, what's going on here? But we're not able to understand it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to bring a sort of cosmic joker type thing, you could say the cosmic joker, I guess, is the person who turned on the television in the first place to fuck with us, and we're the dogs.
Yeah.
But of course, that's a metaphor. I am not saying I'm 100% sure. I don't know.
No, it works. It works in a lot of ways. I've said in the past that like maybe we're like not even capable of understanding this stuff, no matter how hard we try. We just don't have like the intellectual ability to understand this in our present state. You know, I like to believe, I hope.
Yeah, maybe
God
one
willing,
day.
Yeah, I like when you. Well, I mean, like when you go to whatever happens after you die. I like to think you kind of ascend to hopefully some kind of greater level of understanding, where it's like, okay, now I'm above the dog and the TV, and I can see how it all works. You know, I hope. I don't want to do nothingness.
It does seem like the people or at least not people, the cultures who seem to intrinsically get the closest to it, in my opinion at least, seem to be animistic cultures.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but for some reason they seem to be the closest with understanding it. There's a really good article. I don't remember who made it, unfortunately, called Of Scrimsels and Men, which is about Icelandic lake monsters.
Yeah.
And it's really well written. I found it on archive.org. I could probably find it. You could maybe link it. But it basically is about how scientists who were going to rural Iceland and cataloging the animals were sort of and were talking to the local Icelanders who were still holding on to a lot of sort of pagan, old kind of pre-materialistic, pre-Linnaean sorts of thinking in their culture, and they were sort of talking past each other, where the Icelanders would say, "Oh yeah, in this lake there are these huge creatures. You know, they have long necks. I see them all the time." And the scientists are like, "Oh, okay, so there's like some sort of animal here. I've not seen one myself, but clearly there's some sort of animal. I'll put this in my field guide." And then when you hear about what they're describing, it's clearly not an animal. It's something else. Where they'll say, "Oh yeah, also sometimes we'll see a ghost ship floating over the lake," or like, "Oh, sometimes the monster takes the form of a giant pyramid that is sticking out of the water," like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'll get. I'm pretty sure I'm not misremembering. I think that was the actual detail.
Interesting. So would you say it's called Squibbles and Men?
Scrimsel.
Scrimsel. All right, close.
SKRIMSL.
All right.
I'll Google it right now. Of Scrimsels.
That's fascinating.
Who made it? Oh, it's Michel Merger. However you say that guy's name.
All right, Michel Merger. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. How did we get off onto that? All right. So that came out of the bio. That was fantastic. So one of the things you had a website. It's kind of defunct now. I found it because I'm like a little internet weasel. So I found it and by accident, as I said, looking for Ukamar. It's like that's how you got to find it. It's like a hidden. Yeah. It's like a hidden. It's like the wizard's key, essentially. It's like, you get search for Ukamar, you find it. So, but you have on there, which I think was maybe, and maybe you've changed your mind about this since you originally posted it, but sort of you described it as your cryptozoological authenticity index. And this was, which I love. I love this. It's very Lauren Coleman-esque.
I think generally that's a good idea. One thing that I think I would add is how clear is it that to whatever culture is describing it, how clear is it that culture is not describing something folkloric, or at least not physical in like a biological sense? Because what I was describing with the Icelanders, cryptozoologists and indigenous people are talking past each other like all the time.
Yeah.
Like an indigenous person might say, "Yeah, I've seen a thunderbird," and they're totally serious. They're not lying. They actually said, "Yes, I literally saw one, and it looked like a giant eagle or something." But if you ask them, "What's a thunderbird? Could I ever find it in a zoo one day?" They would be like, "No." That would be like asking if Jesus would be in a zoo. It's like it's spiritual. It's not the same thing.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It might, but it's not a ghost. It's like a category that's kind of been lost, I think, to Westerners, where it's something between that.
I don't want to get too esoteric, but like almost.
I don't know how not to.
I know, almost like angelic, like
I would compare it to fairies.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I almost didn't want to go there because that's almost a catch-all, but it does work for all these.
Yeah.
What's that? Elemental. So like an elemental.
Almost, that could work. Elemental is good. Yeah.
Almost like if you have your elemental beings. I wonder if it works like this. You have your elemental beings, your fairies, your gnomes, whatever, right? But then there's also elemental creatures, and those are not like humanoid type things, but they exist of the same, I hate to say it, energy or whatever. They exist in the same realm as these beings, but they're animals. I wonder.
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about Fortean stuff without sounding like a lunatic, but it's Yeah, it's because you can't, like, you can't not do that because of, it's like inherent in what it is. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
You know, like if a Ufonaut described as looking like an Italian is giving you pancakes, how am I not able to like how are you gonna be like, oh well, I'm gonna sound normal talking about this?
Yeah, exactly. So in the index, you have like 8 things. You say you would have added that other one, but I'll just sort of ping them through. I won't put you on the spot, but I gotta hear it. Are there more than 10 reliable sightings? Does it have enough space to hide? Does it have any studied or accessible physical evidence? Does it have any video or photographic evidence? That's a tricky one nowadays with AI.
Yeah, it's AI.
Yeah. Is it indigenous? Is there indigenous or ancient folklore of the cryptid? Is there a current living animal or animal resembling it in the recent fossil record? So that's just a few of them. There's a couple more on there, but
yeah.
How do you? So you used? I guess you still do in a sense. You use that to sort of grade in your mind or judge the how much credence you're going to give to these various creatures that you look at. Like how do you? One of the sticking points for me, I've been trying to get the New Brunswick Bigfoot people on Binnall America, but so far we haven't been able to make a connection. But one of the things that I've always found kind of interesting, Nick Redfern would bring this up often. He was a Bigfoot, a British Bigfoot. He was a paranormalist. Okay, yeah, everybody knows Nick Redfern, right? But he was when it came to British Bigfoot, he was a skeptic, and he said it was like too small. He's like, England is too small to sustain a population of these things, and that goes to other sort of things where you see, like, you know, like I said, New Brunswick, Hawaii. There've been like sightings and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's many unis. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like part of me always has a hard time reconciling that, unless you sort of take into account sort of beyond flesh and blood as an explanation for these things. Because how would you get a population of Bigfoot in New Brunswick?
There is. I mean, New Brunswick is the most forested province in Canada in terms of percentage of land area. It doesn't have like a ton of people. It has less than 1 million people.
Is it an island though, or no?
No, it is not an island. But it is the Maritimes though. It does have a big coastline. Well, not big. You know what I mean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sasquatches have been reported in every province except Prince Edward Island. There is a video.
Okay, well there you go. Then my island theory holds up.
Yeah, there is a video said to be of a Bigfoot in Prince Edward Island, but it's one of those mysterious, completely contextless videos that float around the internet and have been for years and years, and no one's sure who posted it or like where it originally came from. Yeah, that type of thing. That always intrigues me. I want to know, like, who's making these.
Well, did you see? I saw you. We'll say retweet, but you're on Blue Sky. Under Cryptid Robin. There was a picture that sort of surfaced recently, and that cryptozoology facts shared it, and it was like some guy went home.
Yeah, shout out to Truth is Scarier Than Fiction on YouTube. He's cool.
There you go.
Who also runs cryptozoology facts on Twitter and Blue Sky.
Oh, excellent. I should get him on Binnall America. So he shared that picture on social media, and it was like, I was blown away by that. It was for folks. This guy went back to Malaysia, found a picture that his uncle had taken, and then his uncle died. The aunt framed the picture, and he never really kind of noticed it until now. That in the picture is what looks like a bipedal primate, just like looking at the camera, and it looks like what you would expect. One of these sort of far-flung, like a Yeren or Orang Pendek. Yeah.
Do we know where in Malaysia it was?
The person on Reddit said that they asked the aunt. The aunt didn't even know because the uncle was a world traveler, so it could have been in China or it could have been in Malaysia. So it's a very weird.
Yeah,
it's like it's one of those stories where it's like this is exactly how this kind of thing would unfold. Where you'd find an old picture that someone took, but then again, it's also so perfect a story that it sounds made up. So you can't.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's too good to be true or not. I'll say I'm unsure. It looks real, but there are also a lot of hoaxes that look real.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was also asked, I have a huge cryptid database. I could probably make it public. It might be the largest cryptid database in general, or at least I think it's the biggest one that I've ever seen.
This is just a huge list you made. Yeah, I remember you telling me about this a long time ago.
It's just sorted by country, and I have a cryptid from almost every country.
That's incredible. Yeah, so you gotta get this stuff further out.
Yeah, with Malaysia, I was asking because there is what Lauren Coleman calls proto-pygmies, or no, I think that was Ivan T. Sanderson who coined that. Kind of an outdated term, but the short-statured, vaguely Australopithecus-like ones. There are different ones in peninsular Malaysia and Bornean Malaysia. Yeah. In Bornean Malaysia, they're called Batatat, and in peninsular Malaysia, they are called a name that, if I remember correctly, is a racial slur, or has a racial slur in it. So I'll not say that.
Let's not.
I won't
go there, Owen.
Malaysia has a lot of cryptids.
Yeah. So I found it kind of amusing on your definition of cryptid. You also include maybe you're building off of what somebody else had said, but you also include little versions of an animal or much larger versions of an animal.
Yeah.
I never considered that as a cryptid.
I feel like if there's a weird color morph of something that's not its own species, but if it's not been described before, but it's been reported, I feel like that should count.
Yeah. All right. One of the things I was looking at these animals, these cryptids that you profile in the thing, and it's so deep I couldn't really get too deep into it. So I also didn't want to hit you with like random ones that I was just like, I'd be like, well, what do you think of this one? One thing I found interesting would be, and I can't recall the specific places. I know the stellar sea bear was seen around Japan. That's where you have it listed.
Mm-hmm. The Kuril
And there was
Islands.
also, I think Canada had underwater moose. So
I love that one.
So I'm going to ask you to detail these in a minute. But so what I thought was interesting is like maybe that could be, and maybe it is, sort of another category in a sense, and maybe there are others that one would call inexplicably aquatic animals, like animals that shouldn't be in the water.
There's a lot of those in Native American cultures, and I think the reason why is because a lot of them are not cryptids in the actual sense and are zooform. But it sounds like a cryptid.
Yeah.
Although with the underwater moose, it does not seem like that. My only source for the underwater moose, by the way, is John Worm's most really incredible book, Strange Creatures Seldom Seen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think so many cryptozoologists should do what he did, which is just go to the middle of nowhere, in his case, like central and northern Manitoba, and just talk to the locals and just say, what's around here? Literally just do that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to say, have you seen any mysterious creatures? Just say, can you list the animals around here? And if they say, there's bear, moose, underwater moose, elk, well, then you got something.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you said earlier that you kind of picked up a lot of this stuff from your travels. Where have you gone?
I've been to a couple places. I've not done anything where it's like where I'm like going just for the sake of learning about cryptids. But if I have the opportunity, of course, I'm going to ask locals. I've been to Africa, a couple countries in Southern Africa. I went there last year. And in February and early March, I think, I went to Belize and Guatemala. And I've been to Australia, and I've been to the U.S., and I went to Scotland, I think, when I was a kid. And speaking of the zooform thing, do you know about the coxcomb snake? Or crowing crested cobra?
No, I'm not familiar with
So in Africa, in a huge chunk of Africa, like it's reported in West Africa, in Southern Africa, and Central Africa, is a cryptid, I guess, that is a type of venomous snake. It kind of looks like a mamba, but it has a coxcomb, like a rooster's crest.
Okay.
Even the wattles. And it makes a crowing sound like a rooster.
What?
And it is sometimes, I think, implied that it's doing it as sort of like aggressive mimicry, how some animals will pretend to be something harmless so it can get its prey.
Yeah.
So I guess
lure you in. Yeah.
It eats probably fowl. But in other cases, it's just ambiguous as to why it's like that. Maybe it's just a coincidence that it happens to look like a coxcomb. In the same way that an earwig is called an earwig just because when its wings are folded, it looks like an ear. And wig, this is unrelated. Wig, fun fact, I think is Old English for bug. So it just means ear bug.
Oh,
anyway, back to the crown-crested cobra. So everything I've read about it made it seem like it was one of the most widely known cryptids in Africa.
Yeah.
And so I just asked random people in Zimbabwe. I would just be like, hey, you, do you know about and almost everyone there knew English. Most people's first language wasn't English. It would be like Shona or Ndebele or something. But, people were fluent. So I would just walk up to them and be like, do you know about this snake? And it has like a rooster's crest. And almost every single person said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about, weird white person. However, I talked to a guy whose name I can't pronounce correctly because it has a click in it, Nsube, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy is quite rural. Like his house does not have any electricity at all. Like very subsistence based and very traditional. Like in the sort of traditional, like still like in his culture, like totems were still a big thing. And I asked him, and he was like, "Oh, I do know what you're talking about." But interestingly, he immediately was like, "Oh, that's not an animal. That's like a creature that's made by witch doctors. It's like a familiar, in like kind of like how in Europe witches have cats and stuff. It's like a familiar. It's something a witch doctor makes with black magic to do its bidding."
Jesus.
So I think what the crown-crested cobra is, at least based on what this guy said, is it seems like it could be that colonial people, because almost every report of the crown-crested cobra was when Africa was under colonial control. Colonial people heard Africans talking about this snake thing, and for all I know, maybe they did say they saw them, and misinterpreted it as this is literally some undescribed species out there.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if that's kind of how it got to us, yeah, that would make the most sense. Now I got OCD. I can't let and I know the listeners probably do too. I can't let you off the hook here. What's the underwater? What is the story of the underwater moose though?
Okay.
What is this thing?
It's very weird. It is. My only source is from John Worms because he's the only guy who bothered to do anything. It is a type of moose that is semi-aquatic. It seems to spend most of its time in the water, including like submerged. It looks pretty similar to an ordinary moose, although if I remember correctly, its legs are a bit shorter, it's a little chubbier, and its horns are different. This detail is contradictory. Some people say its antlers. Some people say its antlers are like horns, like a bull's horns, where there's not as many prongs.
Okay, yeah.
But other people say it's more prongs. It's branchier. That's the only inconsistency. Another thing is it has weird flaps of skin on its neck. Apparently, a lot of the native people, it's particularly common for some reason in a little village called Pukatawagan. The local people there seem to think that it's gills. Obviously, that's pretty hard.
That's what I was thinking.
In a biological, there's no mammals with gills, but there's also no underwater moose as far as we can tell.
Right.
And another very strange detail about it is that it's almost bulletproof. There are descriptions where people would shoot it, and it would sound like and it would usually make a weird sound if you would when it hits. One person said it sounded like you hit a plastic bag, if I remember, and another person said it sounded like splashing water. And usually it'll just run into the water if you shoot it.
Man.
And it's unclear to me if it's that it's like bulletproof in the sense that it's just really tough, which is what the native people seem to think. Because I think that's what it is that its skin is tough, or that it has a lot of fat on it.
Yeah.
Most people who did manage to kill an underwater moose said that it tasted disgusting. Its meat was like awful. Weirdly, there was one person who did manage to kill one and ate it, and it tasted good to them. There is photos of this dead moose, and it does indeed look weird. It doesn't look as weird as you're probably picturing in your head, but it certainly does have something weird is going on with its neck, and its antlers are quite weird. It looks more like a bull's horns.
Yeah.
So
when was this? When did they shoot it?
I think the late 2000s. I think the late 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a DNA test on it even, and it showed apparently that it was just a moose. However, this is, by the way, just from memory, so I might get some things wrong, but apparently it was genetically closer to the moose in Eurasia than the moose populations in the Americas.
Interesting.
I think that DNA that makes it weirder to me. I think a lot of skeptics would hear this and be like, well, case closed. It was a normal moose because the DNA showed it was a normal moose. I think that makes it weirder. Why was it a normal moose? It clearly wasn't. Yeah. Based on how they're describing it. Oh, another weird thing about that story is how they killed it. Is they didn't have guns with them, but they wanted to kill it still. So they put something over its head and tied it to their boat and yanked it backwards to drown it.
Jesus Christ! Yeah,
which is apparently a thing that is a method to kill moose. It's probably not very nice, obviously, but anyway, it fought for way longer than moose normally do. Normally they'll drown in a couple minutes, obviously, but this one was fighting for 20 minutes or something.
Well, it's an underwater moose.
Yeah, it's an underwater moose. Yeah. And there's very weird. And that book is full of so many fascinating, weird cryptids, platypuses.
Yeah.
In Manitoba.
Really?
Which is insane. And weirdly, that's one of the only ones that I have other sources corroborating there being a cryptid platypus in the Americas. There was also reports of platypuses in remote lakes in Colorado. I've heard of that. And there was also a sighting, take it with a grain of salt, because I think it was anonymous, in the 2006 in Alaska, where someone said they saw something that looked like a platypus.
Weird.
And there was also, I want to say, something about there being platypuses in Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah.
Which would make more sense because monotremes, if I remember correctly, monotremes are the mammals, platypus and echidnas. They're a very ancient lineage of mammals, which is why they lay eggs. I'm pretty sure they evolved in the Americas and then island hopped to Antarctica when it wasn't frozen over, and then went to Australia. But then Antarctica became a frozen hellscape, so they died out there. And then in the Americas, they were outcompeted and they died out there. So now they're only in Australia. But so if there was relict platypuses, that would be insane. Obviously, that would still be one of the biggest zoological discoveries. But it wouldn't be impossible. It would be highly unlikely, but it's not impossible.
Right. Well, that's the out of place animals. That's kind of the.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of those.
Yeah,
which can also be Fortean, I would say, depending on your definition of out of place.
If we're talking about a platypus in Colorado, absolutely. So, yeah.
It could be. You could still interpret that in a more biological sense. I was thinking people finding a frog in a rock. Or that kind of thing.
You're thinking of an out of place objects kind of thing. Yeah, okay.
Well, people have found living frogs in rocks. You must know about that.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
How do you not know? You don't know that?
I've never heard this story.
That's very surprising. It's like a classic Charles Fort type thing.
I heard this. Inside of a rock?
Alive.
Yes, I realize that.
Yeah. So imagine
inside of a pocket? Like a little air pocket in the rock?
Imagine a perfectly frog-shaped cast. So it has no space to move. So it's perfectly frog-shaped.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
This seems to be a sort of dormant Fortean phenomenon. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like some Fortean phenomena randomly die out and just stop being reported, and in other times they just randomly start being reported, right? Like people have black stick men.
What's that?
Have you heard of black stick men?
No.
There are reports of people seeing what look like stick figures in real life.
Okay. All right.
Which is obviously really weird. That only started being reported in like the 90s or 2000s, but you can find plenty of people who don't know it's a phenomenon reporting it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
But,
no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but
it's
entombed
like
animals
somehow. Yeah.
Entombed animals are an example of a dormant one. It's just stopped being reported in like the 80s for some reason.
Weird. Yeah, no, I just it's completely.
It's almost always frogs. It's almost always frogs,
Weird.
but not as a rule. You can also find a couple where it's lizards. Plenty with fish. Fish are also common. The cosmic joke seems to think frogs
are they alive? Are they alive then? Okay, so you like break it's like a toy, you break the thing and
it
it's like,
pops out.
here I am. What the fuck? Like a Kinder Surprise.
Yeah, a very weird Kinder for French people, perhaps. Very weird.
Strange. No, this is news to me, and I've been around for a long time.
What are other weird Fortean phenomena? Actually, wait, you're the one. You're sort of interviewing me. You can.
No, this is great. We're having a good time.
Okay. Well,
where are you? Hold on now. We're famously, to me, when we first chatted in 2017, I was giving you grief about the squonk because I'm squonk. I champion the squonk. It's like, I don't really believe the squonk, but it's like, But there are other creatures that are sort of on the periphery that I want to take your temperature on. So chupacabra, where do you think that fits into this all?
I would say chupacabras are definitely zooform. They might exist. In fact, I would say they probably do exist, but they seem paranormal. They, like, if you look at how people describe them, it doesn't look like any animal that ever has existed.
Yeah.
And the description of what they look like is so wildly inconsistent. Like the common depiction, besides the coyote with mange, which is
everyone knows
with mange who gives a shit, is like the bipedal, scaly kangaroo alien with spines and wings.
Yeah.
That's like some reports, but there's reports. I've heard of a report where it was described as looking like a shaggy dog with no limbs or no head. And in the same flap, which was also during a UFO wave, another person described it as looking like a giant white bird, like a condor or something.
Oh, weird.
And people
how is that a chupacabra then? That's just
because people saw it and it was in Puerto Rico. Because people saw it and at the same time they like go to the spot where it was and there's like a bunch of animals and all their blood is drained.
Yeah.
So it's not. There's a correlation.
Okay, all right.
And there's also,
so it's like a bird that behaves like a chupacabra.
Yeah, and there's also reports of Ufonauts. I prefer that term over aliens because it's more ambiguous as to what they are.
No,
there's also reports of Ufonauts where they're acting in the role of a chupacabra, where they're like going into a pen and then doing some weird thing, and then the animals die.
Yeah.
There was a report where it was like a snake thing. There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
So, okay. Interesting. All right. And what the hell was the other one? Oh, okay. So what about... Well, I believe you were fortunate enough to be there the same year Linda Godfrey was. I think that's when I met you.
Yeah,
I think Linda had the late, great Linda Godfrey.
Yeah, she was nice. Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the Dog Man? Because I struggle with Dog Man because it's physically tough to... It's physically tough to place.
Well, I haven't done much of any research on them, weirdly enough. I don't know why. It's just been a blind spot. But of what I can say, it is clear that biomechanically that makes no sense. You know, something that has, hawks and dog paws wouldn't be able to walk on two legs. There's not really a precedent for them in Native American folklore. They're not restricted to the Americas either. I've heard of reports of them in like Finland. Like they're just kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
They seem more paranormal to me. But It could be. It could also be if someone's skeptical, like a modern myth. In
Well, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like just not real, but it's like a cultural thing. Like
Yes, yeah, like almost like a sequel to Sasquatch. It's like in our sequel.
But it kind of jumped the shark though.
Don't all sequels though? Like the sequel can never live up to the original. So it's like we have Bigfoot, and it's like we need something after Bigfoot because as a culture there always has to be a sequel. So it's like Dogman, and that. Yeah,
I mean people have and trust me, I know people love anthropomorphizing animals and stuff. You can find reports of insert animal mixed with person of like almost anything. There's deer men, there's cat men, kangaroo men, lizard men, obviously.
Lots of goat men,
obviously. Bear man. There was one where there was a bear with a human face, if I remember correctly.
Weird. Jesus.
Yeah, and a bear that was normal and not anthropomorphic, but was talking with a silly voice, if I remember correctly.
Interesting. Where was that?
Yeah. I want to say Oregon or Washington.
Weird.
Talking bear. I want to say it was in the YouTube channel Beyond Creepy, I think is where I saw it.
Beyond Creepy, all right. That is Beyond Creepy, so that lives up to their ability.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting. So all right. So we covered the Chupacabra, we covered the Dogman. There was one more. Oh, what about Mothman? Mothman's kind of like the third of the trifecta.
I think John Keel rolls in his grave every time someone calls it a cryptid. Like, it's not a cryptid. It's like an eldritch harbinger of death. It's like some unknowable weird thing.
Yes,
I don't know what you could. It's not a cryptid. I don't know what it is, but it's something. Oh, that's
a
one
great
of my
explanation. Yes,
one of my favorite Fortean phenomena are I'm on a private Discord server that does like Fortean research of what they call phantom strangers. An example of that are men in black.
Okay.
You know how like in a lot of reports, especially with UFOs, but you can find it with other things where there's reports of people, but they act really weird and off, and they often look strange, like that kind of thing. I love that. I find it so creepy and weird.
Phantom. I think I was talking about that with Fred Anderson. Phantom strangers. Just it's a interesting sort of a subgroup of weird.
It kind of seems.
Ever looked at? Go ahead.
It seems like something that is doing a really shitty job at trying to pass as human. Yeah. But it's really bad at it. And I can't tell if it's bad on purpose because it's trying to scare you or if it's doing its best. You know?
That's a good way to put it.
It's hard to say.
Have you looked at phantom social workers? The phantom social workers?
Yeah. That's another example of phantom strangers. It's another subtype. Men in Black are another example, but there's other examples. There's been ones that are like missionaries. And electricians. I think John Keel mentioned ones where they would like go to your door and they'd be like, "Hello, would you like to get your, electricity fixed or whatever?" And then they're like, "Sure, okay." And then they're like, "Okay, I will go to the basement to fix it." And then they walk down into the basement and they just don't go out. Like they just dematerialize, I guess.
Jesus, that's bizarre.
There was also ones John Keel mentioned during the Vietnam War where phantom strangers dressed as a soldier, usually with something weird or off about them, like there's something in the regalia that isn't how you're supposed to do it, or they're wearing like Nikes or something, like something weird.
Okay, yeah.
And then they'll say, and they'll go to the door and they'll say, "I'm sorry, but your son blah 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 has died in the war," and it like is totally real. Like it comes across as so real, and they know the name, they know exactly the address and where to go. And they're just lying. They're gone, and then the person comes back and they're fine.
Weird. And who picked up on this story, Keel?
John Keel. Yeah.
Interesting. You've been reading this stuff more recently than I.
I love John Keel's work, and and he obviously is quite polemic polemical, but I don't think he's a liar. As far as I'm aware, he's never been caught making shit up. But oh my God, he should have written his sources down. Like, so I'll find his sources sometimes by just stumbling on it. But man, cite your sources, please.
Yeah. Well, it was a different era back then. It was.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty crazy. So you also then, like I said earlier, your interest was drawn to UFOs a few years ago. How'd that come about, and sort of what's your journey been like?
Yeah, so I was recommended a YouTube video. I think it was "Extraordinary Until Proven Otherwise" by Lemino, which is a pun, like "let me know." It's Lemino. Really good documentary, really high effort and well made for being like just I think a passion project by one random guy.
Yeah.
And it was about like the Nimitz thing, like, you know, whatever. As far as UFO stuff goes, it's pretty cool that got so much publicity, obviously, but there's a lot weirder stuff than that. But that made me be like, oh wait, because at that point, I assumed UFOs were bullshit. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just assumed they were.
Because you were a cryptozoologist. It's kind of like everyone's kind of predisposed
They're
to think
mutually
the other ones
exclusive
are
for some mysterious reason.
Right, yeah.
But I was like, oh wait, there's like stuff to this, and I was like so astounded. I'm like, is this guy just lying? So I would like Google it. I'm like, oh no, this did actually happen. You know, the people in that ship did report that. So then I was very intrigued, and then I looked at the most basic surface level UFO stuff, you know, like Project Blue Book, The Unknowns, like that kind of thing. What made me incredibly, so begrudgingly think maybe there is something with Ufonauts, at least, is the Lonnie Zamora incident. Just because, like, I don't, like, there's not much detail with the Ufonauts, but there were the two Ufonauts next to that UFO. Yeah. And obviously that was real. Like, I would eat my pants if it's fake, if it turns out it's a hoax. Like, that's just, I don't know how it just seems so real.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so if there are Ufonauts, I'll just see, are there any other examples of stuff that is that weird that has evidence that is corroborating? Because I do not, like, I don't want to believe in Ufonauts and UFO stuff, not because, like, I would think it's cool, but because, like, that's just such a weird can of worms, because it kind of is dismantling everything of, like, my worldview of how the world is supposed to work, and it's just and it's just so unhinged.
It's certainly unhinged. Yeah,
it's incredibly surreal, but in a way that's very inhuman. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm like thrilled. I'm just kind of thrilled hearing this sort of discovery or realization from your eyes, where it's like, brother, when do you get into this circus? It's crazy. What I think is interesting, Robin, is that I wonder in a way, because you've been very careful, and I noticed this. I like this. You really don't seem, and I'm kind of the same way. You really don't seem to have much interest in the fucking lights in the sky and the shit like that per se, as compared to the UFOnauts and the various humanoid, because there is a long history of these cases of Ufonauts, suspected Ufonauts. Let's say it's like, there wasn't a ship anywhere, but where the hell else would this strange humanoid have come from? And it is interesting in a way, because it does sort of bleed out of the cryptozoological sense, where it's like, okay, there's something beyond this. There's something something we're missing here. I mean, there is sort of a connection. It's like maybe they derive from the same source in a sense.
I think they must. Not all cryptids, but I think at least some.
Of course.
I think a lot of alien big cats are. A lot of them have that same vibe.
Really?
They both have a weirdly global distribution that makes zero sense. They both have, like, glowing eyes often, which is not a thing that really makes any sense. And
interesting.
You know, I'm not gonna act like I'm Jacques Vallée, and I'm the first person to ever notice how weirdly similar fairies are to Ufonauts, but, there's that whole deal. There's one thing I think that makes... I think it's a fool's errand to be like, oh, well, I'm going to be the one to figure out what's going on. But I do think it's a good exercise to at least try to understand or to try to research and find patterns. And one thing I think that's really good to do is just dismantle every category in your brain. Every category you have is made up. It's a social construct, in a descriptivist way. Like, for example, can you define a chair for me in a way that excludes everything that isn't a chair but includes every type of chair? You probably can't, right? I don't think you could.
It's take me 10 minutes to wrap my head around that question.
You could try. You could be like, oh, it's something designed to be sat on. So is a saddle a chair? Is a toilet a chair? Is a bath a chair? No. And then you'd say, okay, well, it has to have legs. Oh, so a beanbag chair is not a chair. Like, I can go on.
Wow. Okay,
It's like that.
Fun party game. Yeah.
Yeah, categories. Every category in your head, whether it's chair or UFO, is helpful because it's how you're describing things, but it's not objective. So everything in Fortean stuff is on like a spectrum. You'll find stuff where you're like, I don't know how to describe this. Is this a UFO report or is this a ball lightning? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Is this a Sasquatch or is this a Ufonaut that is just covered in hair and really tall?
Yeah.
And there's overlap in everything. There'll be reports of Sasquatches where there's balls of light. There'll be reports where a UFO flies over and then poltergeist phenomena happens. There'll be reports where someone claims to be abducted by aliens and then they say they have like psychic powers or something. That kind of thing. I'm pretty skeptical with alien abductions. I only know a small handful that seem to have any credence. But you know what I mean. All the categories. Dismantling categories is very helpful because I don't think there is any effective way to categorize stuff. There's definitely patterns, don't get me wrong, but there's no rules. It doesn't seem like there's anything that is always happening.
Well, what would be a pattern?
I've written down examples that I have noticed.
That's great. All right, I'd like to hear this because you're a very astute observer, man. I'm really impressed. I'm blown away.
I have so many PowerPoints that are like hundreds of slides long, which is like random notes. It might take a second.
Don't worry about it. No, when you say patterns, very interesting.
As this loads, I'll give examples. The number 3 comes up a lot. That's the thing. John Keel noticed the Wednesday phenomenon where UFOs are disproportionately reported on Wednesday. I don't know if that's true, by the way. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't know if anyone's corroborated that observation. Weird parallels to psychedelic things is a common thing. If you often hear reports of people who've taken like DMT or like a shitload of like shrooms or LSD, a lot of the types of things people hallucinate are very weirdly similar. Yeah. And also similar kinds of vibes where it's like the colors are like weirdly vibrant or vivid, or there's like a weird surreal feeling. Okay. If you hear anecdotes of people who've taken DMT, they'll often say very alien abduction type stuff, like, oh, there's entities and they're like experimenting on me, or they're like,
right,
or I'm on another planet, that kind of thing. Okay. Ufonauts tend to be short with large heads. There's a couple phrases and types of ideas Ufonauts like to say to people I've noticed. They often will say sort of vague religious stuff, like or apocalyptic imagery. Yeah, they'll often warn people, hey, don't use nuclear weapons. They never do this, by the way, to people in power. They only do this to some random farmer as if they're going to be able to stop the U.S. from developing nukes or something. Yeah. Or environmental messages. They like to say things like, we are a peaceful people, or do not be afraid, which has some biblical parallels. Although I think that's a bit of a chicken or the egg thing. Has this loaded? It has.
Spotting patterns here.
Yeah. Clown-like imagery is pretty common.
Yes.
Owls. Oh, a common one is sulfur. The smell of sulfur is associated with Sasquatches, but it's also associated with poltergeists, and it's also associated with UFOs, and it's also associated with demons, that kind of thing.
Have you read Joshua Cutchin's book on smell?
No, The Brimstone Deceit? No, but I'm meaning to. I've been meaning to.
Yeah, that's like his whole thesis,
Mm-hmm. Another one that also
he's gonna really like you, Rob.
Oh yeah.
You're
another
probably
one
going to get an email from him after the show.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Another one that's also has some psychedelic parallels is a weird buzzing noise in the introduction. Sort of the start of the encounter often starts with a weird buzzing noise. That's a thing. Oftentimes, I don't know this. I've not taken any psychedelics myself. This is just from what I've read.
Not yet.
That often the first thing people notice is a weird buzzing sound.
Yeah.
You often hear that with UFO stuff and that kind of thing. It kind of seems like, especially with the Oz effect as well, that it's kind of like the phenomenon or the cosmic joke or whatever the hell you want to call it. Sort of puts people in a weird experience environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's almost like a weird mirror of the world that's not exactly the same, but it's like an environment that they have put you in to metaphorically poke you with a stick and get a reaction out of you, and then when they're done scaring the shit out of you, it plops you back into the normal world.
I don't know if I don't even really play video games, but that reminds me of like when you're playing a video game and like then you can take the dude out and change his gun and put a different hat on and then drop them back in the game.
I've also noticed that sort of thing, like with video game or virtual-esque imagery, like someone like things like phasing through walls, kind of like in a video game where a wall. Like where the developers forgot to add collision to the wall, so you can just walk through it,
right?
Like that kind of thing, or that sort of thing. Also, like weird distortions in time is obvious, like missing time. That's pretty clearly real. With alien abductions, I'm skeptical, but missing time seems to be pretty obviously a thing that does happen. I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah, it's one of those that you can actually kind of it's like based on facts in a way, you know. So it's like you can kind of.
Another thing I think is really fascinating is I don't know. Tell me if there's a word for this, because I must not be the first person who's interested in this who's noticed how sometimes witnesses to high strangeness act really weirdly nonchalant, like where they'll see like a Ufonaut, and their reaction is like, "That's weird. I'm going to go downstairs and investigate," and not, "Oh my god, there's an alien in my room," like that, or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I call it anomalous ambivalence. Like
that works for me. I've never heard anyone sort of
like
pan it down.
I have a friend who already was obsessed with Fortean stuff, and he had an experience where he looked out a window and he saw under a streetlight a little gnome-like thing, and it like hobbled away, and it was like so obviously inhuman. It was like a little gnome thing, and and keep in mind again, this guy knows more about Fortean stuff than I do, right?
Oh wow!
His reaction was like, "Oh okay," and then just kept doing stuff. And only hours later, when he remembered it, it immediately hit him, and he acted normal again. It was like, "Oh my god, isn't that weird?"
That is strange.
Like,
that
kind of thing where people act like it's and there's also the opposite where sometimes people will act weirdly scared when there is nothing frightening in the report. It's just weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like for some reason something just radiates a sense of horror for some reason.
Because it's so otherworldly, I guess.
I guess.
For some people, you can't handle it. Have you had any of your own experiences?
Nothing crazy. I do have one thing that I cannot 100% say this is not a false memory. because it happened when I was like 6 or 7. So
Yeah.
this could totally be a false memory. Although I do remember being in a car on my way back from the Toronto Zoo, and my grandmother was driving me back. And I look out, and this was on the highway. I want to say the 401 or something, if that's the right highway. And by Lake Ontario, I saw a UFO, and it just zipped by really fast. It was spinning, I want to say clockwise, and it was gray, and it was kind of shaped like a frisbee or like a coin.
Yeah.
So it didn't have the cupola at the top.
Okay.
And it went like left to right, and as it went by, it got a little closer to me in the angle. And I only saw it for like 3 seconds, and my reaction was like, oh my God, Granny, I saw a UFO. And she was like, oh, okay, sure. She didn't believe me because I was like 6. She doesn't remember that, but also like, if it did happen, she probably wouldn't, because like if a 6-year-old said they saw a UFO, I doubt you'd remember that because it's a 6-year-old.
Right.
Yeah. That's one thing. I've had 1 or 2 weird, vaguely precognition type stuff, which does kind of bother me because I think it's pretty clear, at least of what I understand. Like I've not read a ton about this, but of what I understand, no one has been able to prove they're psychic, right? Like, James Randi had that. James Randi had that award of like $1 million to anyone who could do it, and no one ever did. However, I've had 2 things like that.
Yeah.
There was one where I was picked up from school, and my parents said to me, "We have something really sad to tell you." My immediate reaction was, "Is it my aunt blah, blah, blah?" And it was, and she died.
Yeah.
And she was not old. She did have Down syndrome, which often makes people die a lot younger. But at this age, I wouldn't have thought of that. And she wasn't like sick when she died. She just died very suddenly. Yeah. And I immediately got it was immediate with that name popping into my head, where I was immediately sure that's what it was. And I don't know why, because it's not like if my parent says we have something really sad to tell you, like it could have said like we could have said we have a vacation canceled or your dog died, or another aunt or another family member died, or another family member died.
Yeah.
So it's very weird that it was specifically that. And there was another thing that happened. This was only last October, where I was. And this was in like the middle of October, so it was kind of chilly. And I was walking, and I'm a big fan of birding. Like I like bird watching. That's like one of my other non-Fortean hobbies. So I was out bird watching. So my brain was only focusing on thinking about birds. And I'm walking down the trail in a place I have never been to, by the way. So I don't have any thoughts on it really, expectations. Right. And I randomly think to myself, I wonder if I'm going to see a snake. And I really vividly picture in my head like a reddish-brown snake with a lighter belly, and it's about this big, and it's in the middle of a path with grass on both sides, and its head is to the right, facing the right. And
so
it's very
quite
vivid.
A vivid picture.
Yeah, it's very specific, and it's also I'm in like South Central Ontario. 99% of the time, if I see a snake, it's a garter snake, which does not look anything like I described. It's like black with a yellow stripe. Literally 30 seconds later, I see a snake that looks identical, completely, exactly the same size, in exactly the same circumstance, where it's in the middle of the path, facing the right, with grass on both sides. Right. And I'm like, oh my God, cool, a snake. And I pick it up and I take photos of it. I still have it. It's not a weird snake. It's just a species I've never seen before. I also hadn't heard of it either. It was weird. But again, those things are like, they're not weird enough where I'd be like, I'm 100% sure that is something science can't explain. It could be psychological, mixed with just a weird coincidence. Like, if you think about it, every day, millions of things happen to you, because thing is really vague, right? So millions of things happen to you. The chance that an unbelievably unlikely coincidence happens to you is actually pretty expected. Like,
one would imagine. Exactly.
It's not crazy.
Yeah, well, I was thinking too is that it could be like a time skip or something. It may just it may just be like as simple as that. And I think that people might hear that and go, "Oh, that's crazy" or whatever. But maybe it just works that way, where it's like we're moving forward. Like your perception somehow clicks. Like how it's the thing where it's like, you've got me. Like I feel like we're smoking dope in the dorm room here talking about this shit. But it's like, you wonder, like, if how they say, like, what you see is like what you process is like 6 seconds behind whatever is in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, what if we're living? Like, what if the consciousness or whatever is like 5 minutes behind what's actually happening? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Which would explain a lot of strange things that happen. Where it's like, oh, how did I know to get out of the way at the right second? Because it's like, you're like, you get what I mean? Yeah,
I do. Like there's a philosophical thing. I think it's called the phaneron, where it's like the filter that you perceive reality through. Like color doesn't exist. It's our brain, and it's interpreting stimuli. But it's like it's just matter. It's just atoms, that kind of thing. So it could be. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy.
You can vaguely understand my. And the thing is, it's unfalsifiable.
That's true. Yeah. No one can say I'm wrong.
Which doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, but it does mean that you should definitely take it with a grain of salt. It's very speculative.
Yeah, I don't know how you would even study.
It's like is your red the same as my red kind of thing.
I'm colorblind, so.
Oh, well, there you go. So your red is not the same as my red. Yeah. Objectively, that was a bad metaphor then.
Now, do you have a particular case that you would say interests you or fascinates you right now, or from the past? Do you have anything that sort of you obsess over?
I thought of a good one. Let me find it. It's on my map. It would be in humanoids. This is my favorite example. I could share my favorite example of phantom strangers with you.
Okay.
Do you like that? That'd be good?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
It's whatever floats your boat. That's where your mind went. So that's what you want to. That's what interests you.
This is from the ufologist John E. Schroeder.
Yeah.
Who studied this. This was labeled as ufological. There is no reason to assume it is, though. But oftentimes when high strangeness happens and there's no UFO, people often will go to a UFO investigator just because who else are you going to talk to about it?
Right.
So this happened in on May 15th in 1970 in St. Louis in Missouri at 10:30 a.m. Dorothy Simpson, who's the motel's front desk clerk, and I'm going to say this is not a coincidence, was also a member of the UFO group Schroeder was in.
Okay.
Was at her front desk. And again, what I was saying with the weird noise, to start and to have the introduction of weirdness, a weird whistling sigh sound happened. And she looked up, and on the other side of the desk were 4 really tiny people. They looked like a family. It was a couple and their 2 kids. All of them looked very weirdly alike, and they all looked young, and the kids were nearly the height of their parents. They were so short that they barely reached the height of the desk. So these are weirdly tiny people. They were also all quite well dressed for a random motel or whatever in a suburb, I think a suburb. They're all quite well dressed. The presumed dad and the boy wore tailored suits, and the presumed mom and daughter wore the same pastel peach dress. Their hair looked fake. Simpson thought they were wearing wigs, all of them. And the man said, again with fairy parallels, said in a weird high-pitched voice, do you have a room to stay? Do you have a room to stay? Repeated it twice. And she told him what the charges would be. But the man acted as if he had no idea what that meant, and looked towards the presumed wife and just sort of stared at her, almost as if it's like, can you help me out here with how do I deal with this? And they sort of just stared at each other, and there was this really awkward, weird silence of the
communicating.
Yeah, maybe. And the uncomfortable, awkward silence finally ended when the man then pulled out a really thick wad of bills, all of them of very large denomination of money, and they all looked so crisp and new that Dorothy thought this has got to be like counterfeit money. So she did a quick informal test to see if it was fake, but no, it was real money. It was just very new and a lot of money, like way too much than you would need, obviously, to charge for a hotel room.
Right.
So she took two $20 bills from the stack and then gave the huge rest of money back to them. Because the man was so tiny, he couldn't fill out the reservation. He was too short to reach. So, so Simpson said, okay, I'll just do it for you. And he said his name was A. Bell, as in first name is the initial A, followed by Bell.
Like Art Bell?
Oh, like that's funny. Bell. I was thinking Abel, like in the Bible, but that could also work. Yeah.
What year was this?
1970. Okay. Based on Schroeder's description from interviews with Simpson and also other employees who saw the weird family, their faces were very wide at eye level, and their faces thinned very abruptly to their chin. Their eyes were very large, dark, and slanted. And their nose had no bridge, and they had slits for nostrils. So, weird. Based on that description, that at least to me, that doesn't sound like any congenital deformity I can think of. You know, it just doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard of. That sounds very weird. And their mouths were tiny, and they had no lips. Their mouths were no wider than their nostrils. So in other words, they're doing a really bad job at passing as human.
Right. Yeah.
They were also all pale. Simpson asked, "And where are you from?" I can only assume in a very quizzical, intrigued tone.
Yes.
The man responded by quickly shooting his arm up really fast towards the sky and said, "We come from up there, up there."
Oh, boy.
Which you could interpret, obviously, in a ufological way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how.
It's hard not to. The woman pushed his arm down, which I think is funny. It's almost like you're not supposed to share that information.
Right.
The wife pushed the husband's arm down, and then said they're from Hammond, Indiana, which I'm pretty sure is not a real place. And they gave an address. The man then awkwardly signed the register in a way that it made it seem like he did not know how to use a pen. The woman then wanted to know where they could eat, so Simpson showed the direction of the motel restaurant. Meanwhile, the bellhop came over to store their bags while they ate. The manager told Simpson to check their address and learned that the name and address were not real. The bellhop also, just out of curiosity, I guess, checked the parking lot if there were any Indiana license plates, and there were not.
Yeah.
The hostess who led the strange... Oh, I know. The hostess who led the strange family to a table in the restaurant noticed that the chins of even the adults barely reached the top of the table. The man, when given the menu, read aloud the items, which is quite weird, and asked very odd, basic, common knowledge questions, like, where does milk come from? Where do vegetables come from? That kind of thing.
Jesus.
Yeah. The woman ordered a very weird meal of peas and milk, which is quite a combo.
Yeah.
And the man asked for peas, a steak, and water. They ate by picking up a single pea by stabbing it with the knife, and then bringing it up to their tiny lipless whole mouth, and then sucking it like it's disgusting and weird.
Yeah. All the listeners right now are like, "Oh, why'd you guys do
some
that?"
ASMR, yeah. The husband, his mouth was too small for the steak, so he just didn't eat anything, I think. They also all stopped eating at exactly the same time. The man then gave a $20 bill to the waitress. I think that's a funny detail. I like to think it's like they accept $20. Everything must cost $20.
Yeah.
But anyway, gave them a $20 bill to the waitress, who went to get change, and when she returned, they were gone. This is not the end of the story. They just left without saying anything.
Yeah.
When the bellhop saw them, he got their baggage and went into the elevator to lead them to their room. Can you guess their reaction to the elevator?
They were confounded by it?
Yes, they were scared, and they acted like they had no idea what an elevator was. The poor bellhop, I can only imagine deeply uncomfortable, had to reassure them that an elevator is an elevator and that they're fine and that they will be okay. So they go into the elevator and they go to their room. The bellhop had to assure them that there was no danger. After letting them into the room, he turned on the lights, to which the husband quite abruptly and sharply berated him, being like, "Don't turn on the lights, it'll hurt my children's eyes."
Oh, weird.
Very weird. The bellhop was, I think, just so scared and viscerally uncomfortable and disturbed by all of what's going on that he just fled. He just walked away. He was like, "I don't care." The bellhop, the manager, and Simpson then vowed to watch for them to leave in the morning. But they never checked out. In fact, they never saw them. It's like they dematerialized. Yeah. The only way they could have gotten out was through the front door. At least that was the only one you can get. Well, there were other doors, but that was the only one you could get through without passing a security alarm, without starting one. Yeah. And the alarms were checked, and nothing was amiss, and they didn't ever see them leave. And Schroeder interviewed 5 people in the motel who saw who saw this family, which
that's
I think
an excellent case.
Yeah, that's a good case. There's no evidence but it's so weird. It's hard to imagine someone coming up with it.
That's the kind of story. I don't have the time for it. Maybe you do, or maybe someone else listening does. Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of story. This happened in the 70s. Maybe you can track down, I don't know if he names names, but maybe you can track down some of these witnesses and get
Dorothy Simpson, I think, is the only one that I know of. Although I could try to find the primary source, that would be helpful.
Because sometimes, I was talking about this with recent guest Robert Schneck, that it's like, and I encourage other researchers who are on the show to do this, people who are digging into these old stories. It's like, why not give a call to some of these people who were there in the 70s, if they were like, I don't know. I mean, they'd be pretty old now still, but I don't know. Maybe some of them were,
it would be the type of thing you'd remember.
20-year-old, yeah. So it's, that's a crazy case. And where was this again?
St. Louis in Missouri, May 15th, 1970. Mm-hmm.
Makes you think of like aliens, not grays. Let's just say grays. Ufonauts. I don't know, like doing a test run, either tourists, or sort of like a humanoid test of whatever these things are. I think
because it doesn't seem like. Yeah. Usually, it seems like the goal with Phantom Strangers is to make people scared, and confused. Men in Black seem to, specifically Men in Black, their goal seems to be to scare you into not sharing whatever happened to you. Yeah. Although Phantom Strangers more broadly seem to just exist purely to confuse and frighten, and no other purpose. Which also seems kind of like that's just the purpose of the UFO phenomenon in general. Is it's just a thing that happens to be weird. Like,
well, that's all this shit.
Yeah, like, and it seems quite clear that it's like almost sort of reactive. Like John Keel mentioned, like how he pointed out that Men in Black always drove Cadillacs, and once he published the Mothman Prophecies, when he points that out, they stopped driving black Cadillacs.
Yeah, interesting.
There was also an anecdote where there was a poltergeist case in like Russia or something, and every time the family noticed some sort of pattern about the poltergeist behavior, only once they pointed out the pattern, it would immediately stop doing that.
Weird.
And would, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It also seems like will sort of kind of like just roll with whatever you throw at it, like with whatever ideology or belief system.
It's fairly unflappable, is what you're saying. It's fairly unflappable. Yeah.
Yeah. Like with poltergeists, you can find examples where like the Humpty Doo poltergeist in Australia, it didn't do anything that was particularly religious in any way, or like that implied anything Christian or religious. And only once they brought in a priest did it start acting like, oh, okay, sorry, I'm a demon, apparently. I'm going to be a demon now. And then it would like make upside down crosses and scary stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's also poltergeists where, like in Pakistan, where there'll be a poltergeist and it'll get pissed off when an imam reads the Quran out loud to it. And that's like obviously two mutually exclusive belief systems, but it's acting as if both are true. Right. Yeah. And in the Pumphrey poltergeist in Australia, it reacts to Aboriginal shamans, like shamanic, or not, like animistic beliefs. And, you know, these are all mutually exclusive beliefs, but it'll just kind of roll with whatever the hell.
Right.
You know?
It's wild. That's a crazy story. I'm gonna want to dig into that weird St. Louis story more. That's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. So, what do you do nowadays, Robin? Because you were, I met you in 2017. Started the website. Now it's kind of dormant. Like, I gotta say, dude, this has been a fantastic conversation. I gotta say, this has been a fantastic conversation. And why are you doing? Like, we need you in the in the world of high strangeness. We need you in the world of high strangeness. Your observations and insights are tremendous. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's really been something else. So, like, are you considering doing a blog or anything like that, or putting this your wealth of information that you've already collected?
I could, the main thing with me is I have pretty bad ADHD, so I'm really bad at getting myself to do stuff that's like a big project. But like, I think that should be a goal for me. Yeah, like getting a website done, like making a website would be helpful. And I already have a lot of material that I just make for fun. So I could already
share this shit.
Like if I just embed my Fortean map and I embed my cryptid database, that's already an absurd amount of material. So it wouldn't even be that high effort.
Yeah, and this is just sitting on your computer. We need you. You have a tremendous eye for this stuff. I remember when I first met you in Portland, I was like, this kid's going places, because she's really sharp and on the ball. And do you have any, now you say like you got the ADHD and you so maybe you'll do you have any aspirations like of writing a book or sort of coalescing this into some kind of project? I think a website would be good, but a book would be cool too. I don't know what it would be about in particular. Well, it sounds like you're still kind of finding your way on all this. It's been interesting just talking to you tonight, because we started out where you're like, I really got into Bigfoot, and then I accidentally opened the door to UFOs and kind of, as I was sort of pointing out earlier, discovered this connection, that seems to be between the visitors, the UFO-nauts, and the more inexplicable things that we just can't explain that seem to be creaturey. So it's been interesting to talk to you about all that.
Yeah, thank you. I've had a good time.
All right, where can people find you? Cryptid Robin?
Cryptid Robin on Blue Sky is my main thing. If someone wanted to... Cryptid Robin on Blue Sky is good. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I'm amazed. I'm amazed at how talented you are and how you're just not doing anything. I'm like, or just keeping everything to yourself.
I just do it for fun. But yeah, you're right. It would probably be helpful to other people. So yeah.
It's been a joy. It's really been a joy to bring you, to introduce you to the Binnall America audience. I think I think we're going to get a lot of great feedback on this. So thank you so much again for coming on the show.
No problem.